take roll call for us, please?
Sure. Ms. Carlson?
Present.
Ms. Conway?
Right here.
Martell is here. Cody? Here. Shrevepant?
Here.
Morgan?
Here.
And Nicole Miller is absent.
Thank you. Sir, if you'd like to give public comment, you can fill, sir. If you'd like to give public comment or have questions, you can fill out that form on the table, the little half sheet, and turn it in to me. Are there any agenda adjustments? I have one. We would like to move the student board member report, which is number 9, up to immediately after number 5. So it would be before the audit presentation. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, any other agenda adjustments? Any discussion? Okay, those in favor of approving the agenda with that adjustment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have made that adjustment. Okay, so having made that adjustment, we are now ready for the student board member report, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm Lily Pika, and I'd like to thank you for giving me and other students the opportunity to come and speak to the board directly. A little bit about me is I manage football and girls basketball. I also throw shot put and discus for the track team, and I also triple jump. Some clubs I'm a part of is our student council, senior class officers, National Honor Society, Yearbook Club, and many others. The first thing I'd like to talk to you about is homecoming. Homecoming was a big hit this year. I'd say it was one of the funnest times I've ever had in like my whole high school career. On Friday, well, leading up to homecoming, we had all these spirit days, and this is probably the year that I've seen the most engagement in those. Those are like where we dress up. There's like pajama day, tropical tourist day, a lot of just fun things to get all the students involved. That was all leading up to our park day on Friday, and so we went to Old Hickory Park, and we had a lot of volleyball tournaments between all the grade levels. We had bag tournaments, and we all just kind of got to hang out. And the nice thing about that is student council, we asked parents to bring in food so that we would not have any like hungry students at the park, and that was actually a big hit. We got an abundance of food, and so that was great. And this was all leading up to the dance on Saturday. The dance was hosted by the FCCLA Club, and I would say that was also a pretty big hit. That was probably the first big event of the semester. The second big event is the food drive that was just put on by student council. This will be used for the Lancer Locker. The Lancer Locker is kind of like a food shelf where middle schoolers and high schoolers can both come in and grab non-perishable food items to take home, hygiene products, coats, and winter items, all free of charge. Another new thing this year is the Stewardship Award. Ever since Mr. Feldman announced that at our first senior class officer meeting, I've seen a lot of students, 9 through 12, all trying to join volunteer clubs to get in more volunteer hours, which I think is great to help the community. And one of the last things is, being a senior, I've seen our grade kind of come together this past semester, and I've seen some people very excited about ending their first semester, and others are not so sure, which again is pretty normal. But overall, I think the seniors are enjoying one of the best years. And tomorrow, actually the day before break, we are having like a Thursday fun day, and we'll be playing games, like movies, doing lots of crafts, and I've heard a lot of like talk about that, of how excited the students are, especially because it's a half day. And so that's kind of wrapping up this semester, since our next board meeting probably will be towards the really end of it. That's kind of all that happened so far. Do you guys have any questions for me about what's going on in the school at all?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much
for the update.
coming. Yeah.
We heard you might have some homework that you need to go do, so you are free to leave whenever you would like. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I don't have Brittany here to keep me in line tonight, and I noticed that truth in taxation was actually before the call to order, so is that something we do now or during the... Oh, yeah. All right, let's do that next then. Sorry about that.
put it in slide view.
Yeah.
Maybe up on your right side up there. Slideshow. See where it says slideshow? Over all the way.
On the right.
There it is. Okay.
You found us. Start from the beginning. There you go. And then X out of that up there. Yep, X out of that.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, I apologize too, this is not normally my job.
I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's Truth in Taxation meeting. We're going to talk about the 2023-24 budget and the proposed 24 property taxes here at La Crescent Polka. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. Today's agenda, we'll be talking about factors that do affect taxes. The big picture, your property classification and value, school district factors that affect pay 24, and then we're going to put it all together and have questions. We do want to remember that this TNT, Truth in Taxation meeting, is in December of 2023 for payment by the taxpayers in calendar year 2024, and it is the money is to be used for fiscal year 2025. So you'll notice that we're talking about 3 different years as we go through this. So why do we have, you can go to the next slide, thank you. Why do we have a Truth in Taxation meeting? The law was passed in 1989, and there are 2 major requirements. One is that the counties do send out tax statements. Those come out in about November, and it's based on property tax levies that are set by all taxing jurisdictions. That may be the counties, the cities, the townships, and the school districts. Number 2, the school has to have a public hearing. Most taxing jurisdictions, other than the school also, must hold this public hearing prior to certifying that final levy, and you discuss the payable 24 levy, the fiscal year 24 budget, and any public comments. So this is the school district's annual required hearing. Things that we want to remember are taxes that are paid in 2024 fund the 2024-2025 school year. The 2024 budget is funded by the taxes collected in calendar year 23 because it is the 2023-24 school year. So remember, we are talking about 2 different years tonight. Next slide. One back. So who sets the school levy? Components of the district tax levy are either set by state formula by legislature, which is general education formula, operating capital, career and tech, reemployment, and others, and voter approved as authorized by the state. That would be your operating referendum on building bonds. Go ahead to the next one. How is your property tax determined? The county assessor determines market value for each value of property. The Minnesota legislature sets formulas for tax capacity. These formulas determine how the tax burden is split on different types of property, whether it's residential, commercial, or agriculture. The county auditor then calculates the tax capacity for each parcel based on the above, and the county auditor then divides the total levy by total tax capacity of the district to determine the tax rate that's needed. This tax rate is then multiplied by each property tax's capacity. Now, certain levies are spread based on market value rather than tax capacity. We do need to remember that too. That would be operating referendum and LOR that is based on referendum market value. School bonds, capital project levy, and long-term facility maintenance revenues are based off of net tax capacity. Net tax capacity affects all parcels of the property in the district. Commercial industrial are the highest tax burden, and it's higher than homestead properties. Referendum market value, not on all properties pay. Properties valued the same way would pay the same rates. Ag properties, excluding house, garage, and 1 acre, and seasonal rec properties are not included. The county collects the money and then distributes it to the school. Next slide. This slide is going to show the state aid impact on who collects and who spends. So in FY23, all of the payments that Minnesotans will make in taxes, fees, and charges, the state will collect 63%. So you can see on that on the left side who collects. The state collects 63%. Counties, cities, and townships will collect about 30%, while school districts only collect about 7%. However, once those aids are considered, the state will spend 40% of the total, They collect 63, only spend 40, while non-school local governments will spend 36%, and school districts will spend 24%. So we're bringing in 7%, but we're spending 24%. Next slide, please. This slide will show you how our funding is trailing because of inflation. So this shows the last, 12 years, 22 years, but actually it goes back further than that. They just put a certain number of years on this slide. When you're looking at that orange dotted line, that's the formula allowance that is adjusted for pupil weight change. So for an example, if you look at 2023 and go straight up, you can see the number 7,138. Every pupil that's in our school has a value of $7,138. Now, if the state would have kept up with inflation, every student would be worth the number above it, $8,420. So the funding has trailed by $1,282 per pupil. So what's that saying is the state has not kept up with inflation that school districts have had to put out for dollars. And so those are coming straight out of the school's pocketbooks. So it shows that the general ed formula allowance has been increasing, of course not keeping up, as I just stated. Now we need to remember though that starting in FY26, there will be an automatic inflation increase of between 2 to 3% on the basic formula allowance. This should help the districts keep up with inflation as long as inflation is 2 to 3%. So if inflation goes over 2 to 3%, the state is only going to guarantee 2 to 3%. That doesn't make up the gap that's already there. That's just hoping to close the gap a little bit in the future. Next slide. So property tax levies, school versus non-school. So the blue line is the school district. The red line is your non-school local government, and then your green line is statewide. The school districts account for a significant portion of overall property taxes in Minnesota. That's the blue line. But the school share of levies has decreased significantly since the late 1990s. Notice how the school taxes have approximately doubled, while non-school local government, red line, have risen close to 4 times during this period. So while some of the tax statements may look like the taxes have increased on the school side, ours have approximately doubled, where you can see above that your counties and your townships have gone higher. And so they can double they can go up 4%, where we're sitting there around 2%. The green statewide property tax is on commercial, industrial property, and seasonal rec property. And the things that you can remember here is that school levies have not been rising as fast as county or township levies. Remember, they do not need to go to the public for the vote on their levies, whereas school does. Where you, in many instances, you may have citizens coming to the meeting to say and ask about the taxes. That is something that the school district has, but not the other non-school entities. Next page, please. Here we're going to talk about the 23-24 school year budget. So this budget is an adopted budget, and we had to have it adopted by the July 1st. That's a state statute. So we do our best estimate, which is what a budget is, to prepare for the school year. During the school year, we will do a revise. We can do a revise as many times as we would like to make sure that our numbers are a little more accurate than they would be at the beginning of the year. We can look at our food service, and we can see that we are estimating about $67,000 more in food service. That usually is an in and out fund. The reason that we have that estimate is because, as we all know, the state of Minnesota is providing free lunches. A few years ago, when the federal government supplied free lunches, all school districts, they saw an increase in the surplus of their accounts. So we were thinking that that probably might happen now that the state is supplying those dollars, and so we did budget for a surplus in the food service. Community education, we really want that to go in and out. Money we take in, money we put out. We have a great community education program here. And the general fund, we're looking at about in and out, only a difference of about $3,000 more revenue than expenses. Our general debt service, that is an in and out also. What comes in, we put out. And then our OPEB too is an in and out fund that goes in and out. And our construction fund at the bottom is dollars that we have brought in this year that we will be expending not only this year, but also in fiscal year 25.
Really? Can you explain OPEB?
So OPEB is a fund, and it was, I apologize, I don't remember the date, but it was something you could levy for back in the day. They don't do that anymore, and it's set up for like your benefits for retirees. So we draw dollars out of that to pay for some of the benefits that our retirees may have. We are able to draw that. And it also is the difference of the cost of what our insurance is versus what the cost of an insurance could be for a retiree. We want to make sure we have dollars in that fund to be able to fund that if that's ever a mandate that comes down from the state. All right, the next slide is we're going to look a little bit at the 23-24 budget overview revenues. We have 2023 actual numbers compared to our budget. So we can see in the general fund, we're at a 0.3% change in expenses. In the food service, we're in about 23.14. This is revenues. Again, we just talked about why we think there might be more revenues in food service this year. Community service, we're looking at a little bit of a negative. The reason is that from year to year, they make adjustments. So if one year they send you more money than they should, the next year they're going to take it away. And that's what happened here in community ed. There was an adjustment that was made, so it looks negative, even though we planned in and out. Debt service then increased to 10.7%. Overall, 1.93% in revenue from 2023 to 2022-23 actual to 24 budget. Next page. This is our expenditures. We're looking at about a 4% increase in the general fund. Food service, 23%. We want to match the revenue coming in. We want to make sure that we have that same expense going out. Community service, again, it's about the same negative number as what the revenue was. And then debt service, a little lower as the expenses going out. Next slide. Talk about property classifications and value a little bit. So the next slide is a copy of what your proposed taxes for 2024, that statement that'll look like. You will see if your values have changed by the county assessor on this statement. To change valuation, they need to do it in the spring of the year when the valuation notice comes out. Most local and county appeals take place in April or May, June, after the notice is given out, and then it's updated in mid-October. Next page. We also want to note the Ag to School credit. That permanent law was enacted in 2017, and it affects all existing Fund 7 debt levies except the OPEB bonds. This is a reduction for farmers and timber owners. It's scheduled to scale to 70% in 2024. The replaced property tax revenue for Ag to School credits comes from state income, sales, and other tax revenue. So because the farmers and the timber owners get a reduction on their tax statements, the school still gets the same amount of money because the state chips in that difference because they are the ones that made this a permanent law, so they chip in the difference. And the one reason that you see bonds and capital projects that have been passing in rural Minnesota at a higher rate lately is because that is something that that the taxes can't affect on this existing Fund 7 debt levies. Next screen. So you can see here that the Ag to School was part of the 2019 tax bill and the $650 billion 2017 tax bill that was signed into law. MRE has been working on a credit for farmland since 2015, along with a coalition of farm groups including Farm Bureau, farm unions, corn growers, and soybean growers. This credit on ag land classified 2A, B, and D, and privately owned timber. Farm and privately timber lands taxes went down in 296 school districts beginning in 2018. So we can see in 2020 year a 5% increase, but the total credit percent was 60%. And then, as I said before, in FY24, they're hoping to be up to 70%. Next slide. To find your Ag to School credit, it's on your Truth in Taxation notice. You can see right there where the arrow points. It'll be calculated on each parcel statement, sum of all the parcels for the total. And because it's paid by the state, it does not show up on our levy certification report. So if you would go out to the state of Minnesota, you'd pull up our La Crescent Hoka's levy certification report, it's not going to show on there because the state does in fact give us those dollars. Next slide. This is a screenshot of the Ag to School pay in 2023. La Crescent Hoka gives back to landowners about $121,508. Next screen. Our effective tax rate. So what is your tax rate? This affects how much you pay in taxes. So you can go down and see farm is 0.48, so on down to commercial industrial being 2.59%. The effective tax rates are statewide averages of property classification. Again, they're statewide averages of those property classifications. And you note that the farm is the lowest and commercial industrial is the highest. So in general, farmers are getting a break relative to the value of their property, except for the house and 1 acre. Things to remember, they're the same, we get the same revenue. The property valuation increases do not change the amount of revenue a district receives. So as a property value increases, that means more money is taxed versus if you have lower property value, the state aid is going to kick in more. So if you're a land wealthy district, taxpayers are going to be paying more. If you're a land poor district, state aid is going to kick in more. Share of your tax liability. You can see the dramatic difference in classification makes. The two biggest disparities are farms that are productive ag land, and commercial and industrial. Commercial has a 12.8% of the market, but pays 29.4% of the taxes. On the flip side, farmers have 16.7% of the market, but only pay about 6.4% of the taxes. Next slide. All right, we're going to talk about school factors that affect the pay 24 levies. The general fund. I've mentioned general fund a few times here. It's revenue that is based on student enrollment. The local referendum levy is part of the general fund. This provides classroom instruction, supplies, equipment, other educational activities. You can go to the next page too, please. Thank you. Special education, state and federal mandated programs. The state and feds, they do mandate programs that we do have to use certain dollars for, and those are the only way we can use those dollars. Extracurricular activities, your pupil transportation, your facilities operation, capital expenditures, and health and safety code compliance. Next slide. Food service fund is for school breakfast and lunch fund. And on these next two funds, food service and community service, the dollars that come in have to go out of that same fund. You cannot take food service dollars if you have a surplus and move them to general fund. You cannot take community ed money and move it to general fund. Food service and community service are restricted funds. Those dollars have to stay within those funds. For community ed, the levy is based on the adult population in the district. Early childhood levy is based on the number of children under 5 years of age. Provides for the enrichment programs of any age and level that are not part of the K-12 education program. Anyone under kindergarten or over 12th grade. It's for early childhood, family education, school readiness, and adult basic education. The next slide, debt service fund. Fund 7. This is based on annual debt retirement schedules for the district's outstanding bonded indebtedness. Annual levy is for the payment of principal and interest on bonds as they are due. The current debt is a result of the voter-approved bond issue for, and then we labeled the different bonds that we have and when they are expiring. Next slide, please. Your school district tax levy. Possible reasons why maybe your taxes changed to your parcel. Change in value or classification to your property, maybe homestead to rental or rental to commercial. That could change your taxes. Change in enrollment numbers. If our enrollment numbers go down, more dollars are coming from the different taxpayers. Our enrollment numbers go up. Each taxpayer gives a little bit less. The change in valuation of property in a district. And equalization aid depends on district property wealth. And I already spoke about that. High property wealth, more taxpayer payment. Low property, higher state aid. Any local decisions or requirements, any adjustments for the prior years, which I talked about with community ed, any legislative changes, property improvements that maybe were not previously taxed on your property, any abatements, and any inflationary pressure on the real estate market. So throughout the district, the county assessor has decided to, throughout most districts, the county assessor has decided the property values are much higher. No local decisions here have been changed. We just adjust here for inflation. Next slide. This shows a property wealth picture. So our district is 927,522 per RPU, where we can see the median district is 601,021. That shows that we are property wealthy, which means then less state aid for our school district. Higher your property values, the equalization decreases, which means we get less state aid. All right, next slide. We're going to put it all together. So the next slide shows our proposed Pay 24 levy. So Pay 24 levy for the general, we're looking at a percentage increase of about 5.09%. Community education, again, we're going to see a negative number because of some of the adjustments. General debt, 36.8. OPEB debt service, 2.73. Total, 14.7. And then we need to remember that the ag to school credit offsets about 121,508 of the general debt service for farmers and timber owners. If you have, you can go to the next page. If you have any more questions, you can get more information from the state of Minnesota for any property tax relief. I have the wrong county in there. I apologize. I'll have to fix that sheet. You can go to your local county auditor. I apologize, I have the wrong one in there. And of course, at the school district, you can go to Melinda Crowley or myself. Next page, please. And I thank you for attending this hearing.
And are you good with taking questions at this time on the tax topic?
Absolutely.
Does anyone else have a public comment form to turn in on the tax topic? Do we have them all? Okay. First, we'll take any questions or comments from Dave.
Dave McCann. Okay, my taxes went up 87.4% with no improvement on my home. What I'm looking at, the school portion of it, it went up 100%. I don't know how you can think anybody can take that. I'm a retired person. I mean, our cost goes up. I'm with the Dresbach Township. On our levy, we went down the last couple of years. And I mean, the price of road materials and everything has went up. We've done a real good job. I'm going to ask you guys to tighten the pencil up here a little bit. I mean, that's ridiculous. You know, I mean, look at an 87.4% increase. It's craziness. You want to buy a house? I'll give you a deal.
Okay. Do you want people to contact you directly, like at a later time to have a one-on-one?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be able to comment on specific tax statements just because I would have to look at everybody's tax statement and see the different areas that the tax rates do go up. But I am more than willing to sit down with any of you and look at those tax statements with you. I am in district on Thursdays, but if we can do it. Oh, sorry, Wednesdays, thank you. On Wednesdays, if those days are available. If not, you can reach out to Mindy and we can set up a different time to get together.
Give me a phone number to get a hold.
Absolutely. Do you want my school number or the number to get a hold of me on other days?
Just a good number to get a hold of me.
Okay.
Houston County.
That?
Houston County.
We're from Winona County. We're all Winona.
Yeah, we have Winona County too.
Yeah.
Houston and Winona. Yeah. Houston and Winona would be both of them. Yeah, I had the wrong counties on there. I apologize. It's Houston and Winona. So are you gonna want to get a hold of me on a Wednesday when I'm here? Do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. 507-857-895. Thank you.
5152.
5152. Thank you. 507. 859
895.
895 5152.
Yep. That's wrong.
I don't ever call
She's
myself.
never called herself.
I don't ever call myself. I apologize. I don't know that number. My name is Julie Schreiber. Yep.
I gave that you should give your other number because she's here on Wednesdays. If you want to set something up to see her on Wednesday, you need to call her another day. Yeah. You're right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yep, I am here on Wednesday. So do you want to call me on a different day?
What's your other number?
402-841-1342. And we could set something up. Again, I would need to look at a copy of your tax statement. So even speaking on the phone, I still need to look at a copy of the tax statement.
Yeah, I'll bring that with. But,
That'd be great,
Let
yeah.
me, run that last number back, 402.
Yep,
841-1342.
that's correct.
Yeah. I'm surprised there aren't other people because, I got a neighbor that got hit just as bad as me and it's quite a few people.
And
Guns back, township, and town, I'm right in the town.
Okay, have you talked to Winona County yet?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, people have been reaching out directly, so even though there may not be people here right now, there may have been more questions. Yeah, they're just contacting her directly. That was Dave.
I'll keep
just
this,
give
so,
you that.
yeah, so I have your name, I'll keep this sheet, so I have your name, okay, Dave?
Yep.
Okay. And up next we have Kim.
Yep, that's me. I'm the court treasurer in Dresbach Township, so I was here today to kind of inquire about the increase. Several residents have reached out to me. I guess specifically, I can only speak on my own property tax. Our property tax is increased by $1,700, and $800 of that is from the other local levies line from the school district. So it's $800 out of $1,700, and so I guess, you know, some explanation of why that big of an increase. Mine went up 75%. Dave's went up 100%. I know that others here have had, you know, significant increases. I think we're all just looking for answers to why.
Okay.
The, I guess, response from the county was that the school district levies are retrieved from the state, which you explained. For more detailed information on what goes on in the other portion of the school, you need to contact the specific school or Minnesota Department of Education, which you gave also. But other than that, that was all the information that the county could give us based on just that particular section. So, yeah, again, I've got your numbers.
Great,
So.
I was gonna say, yes, if you, I mean, I'd be more than happy if you wanna come in on someday and we can discuss it, that'd be great. The only Wednesday I will not be in, would be next Wednesday, just because of the Christmas break, I will not be in. I will be with my family that day, so, yeah, okay. No, thank you.
Okay, and we have Daniel.
I'm also from Dresbach Township and just trying to understand the voter approved levies was not much of a change from one year to the next, and then the other local levies were went from $6,700 to over $1,100, about a $431 increase on my property tax. That in conjunction with Winona County, the last 3 years they raised the valuation of my property like $200,000 in 3 years. So it's starting to bite a little bit, and just trying to understand where all the expenditures are. You know, if I could see where that $400 increase, you know, put it in perspective, you know, not just a general idea, but actually where's it all coming from? You had a good presentation, but it's a little hard to follow for me sometimes. So.
Okay. If one of you also wouldn't mind letting me just take a picture of one of your tax statements, I could do some investigation on my end before we get together. I don't know if any of you would be willing to let me have a picture of yours, and then I could do that before we get together.
And then commenting with the presentation, if you look at how this is broadcast on the screen, number one, we record all of the presentations, so you can go back and look at the recorded school board meetings from previous, so that will be up if you want to go back and review kind of what Julia talked about to begin with. Also, where you see the 2022 Truth in Taxation right there, if you click on that, that's a hot link that'll take you right to the slides, so you can review any of those also.
And Micah, did you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Micah Ruprecht, again, resident of Dresbach Township, Winona County. So really, I'm here on behalf of myself and probably about 6 of my neighbors. We would all having the same discussions with each other about property. I do understand that the Winona County property tax could increase, which could increase some of this, and I know we've all been dealing with extreme increases in property valuations in this area. But I just wanted to go over a few of the things that I'm seeing when we get out there. And so, like, our total property, this is public record, but like our total property tax proposed is $6,000, and $2,780 of that is the school district. And so, I mean, I guess one question that I do have for you is putting our school district at 45 or 47% of my total tax bill. How do you feel that compares to the other school districts in the state of Minnesota? And I know you commented that in your presentation, we're in a land, I guess you would say land-rich area, but enrollment going down means that I think the government or the state's stipend, whatever, towards that goes down. So if the enrollment is down, my second question would be, what does enrollment look like the past 5 years? What do we think it looks like? I work a lot in the city of La Crosse, and I know they're struggling with a lot of enrollment stuff. So just for me, my family, my wife, my children, what I'll have to pay every month is going to increase by over $100 every month just on the school portion of my bill. That's in today's inflation, right? Inflation's what it is, and it's getting more under control now. But even when I look at just the other local levy, my other local levy increased by 90.8%, similar to some of the percentages you guys were seeing. And just the voter-approved levy is 25.7%. So I'm just seeing a lot of these numbers, and my neighbors, we're starting to just discussing it, like, kind of feel helpless because some of the increases I do understand that I'm probably not as committed to it as I should be as far as understanding how it all works, but I never expected my school levy to be almost the same that I pay in property tax. So that's why I was mainly here, is just to voice that. And the last thing was your phone number that you shared. Is that okay to share with? I have about 5 neighbors, all in Dresbach, on every side of me. Is that? I don't want to giving your personal information out. Is that okay to share?
That is okay to share. I'm just going to reiterate the fact that the answers I give, I will need to look at the tax statement. So as soon as we're done here, I'll come over and maybe get you guys to put your phone numbers on this sheet. And if anybody's willing to let me take a picture of their tax statement, then I can do some due diligence on my side first. Because like everyone has mentioned the other tax levies, that doesn't show up on the one I had. So I need to do some digging on what that means on your statement. Because I'm not sure what is all in that, just because that's the county side that they put that out. So I will need to dig into that.
So in 2023, my other tax levy was $728, and in 2024, the proposal is $1,391.
Okay.
So just one line item is adding a lot of money.
Okay. And then what you stated is correct about the enrollment, and I don't know, I can't speak on that, but if somebody else wants to speak on enrollment. But what you stated is correct.
Is the trend for enrollment down for our county like it is similar to the La Crosse?
Yes. Yeah. Our district, for sure. Our district is down. Houston is a little bit different. Houston's in our county. We look at Houston County. Their enrollment does different things because they also have a virtual academy that's in there. So they've seen some upticks. We're down a bit over the last couple of years. This is my second year here. And now we're hoping to see, we did some things with preschool, trying to open up another section of preschool so we can start building from the littles, moving them up, because that's the way I've seen it. You hook them in when they're little and give them a good preschool program, and then they stay with your school as we keep moving up. So,
yeah, the concern with enrollment continuing to decrease, and I know that's out of all of our control, but we're heading towards the time when we're going to pay more in tax levy than we're going to pay in property. Because if we already know enrollment's probably gonna be down the next few years, because we can probably see that in the preschool, in the daycare ages, what enrollment will be like. I mean, for me to see a 90% increase, if I saw another 90% increase, then you're starting to talk about time to move somewhere else for this student. This isn't the thing.
Well, we're hoping, and that gets into this next time of the school year, where when I start after New Year's, when we get into January, that's the time we're looking at staffing for next year and budgeting. And one of the items you'll see on the agenda today is a resolution for potential reductions in staff. Because as the superintendent and as Julie, the business manager, it's our job to look at that and say, okay, this is right sized for the number of students we have. And this is how we're going to continue to provide the education for everyone. But we also have to look at, and have some hard conversations. How many kids are in each of these classes, and what number do we have to keep them there? I don't know if anyone has elementary age children, but made a really difficult decision at the beginning of the school year to reduce third grade by one teacher because we just didn't have the enrollment. So we're also looking at it from that end on smart spending and smart budgeting that's appropriate to our student enrollment.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
With speaking with my neighbors, I have been asking many of them where their kids go to school, and a lot of them are in the private school system, so I understand it's outside of the public school. But do we also have numbers on private schools, and are their enrollments increasing compared to the public schools, or is it a similar decrease overall to student population? I don't know. Does anybody know? Private schools up.
I don't have that information. We can look for it, but I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay.
Okay, that was it for sheets I had turned in. Are there any additional?
I can ask a question, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Can someone explain to me in the school district tax amount here what other local levies consist of?
So that was what I was making a statement to the gentleman over there, is that that statement, Winona, right? We're all in Winona County statements. That is different than what I showed, and so I won't need to do some digging on what that is, because I am not sure. But I'm more than happy that anybody will let me. I'll take a picture of your statement. I'll get your phone number. I'll do some more digging. And if I can get a hold of you first grade, or if you get a hold of me first grade. Because I'm not sure.
It's part of the Independent School District 300 levy.
Yep, correct.
That should have been determined here, right?
Well, those are labeled different than the way we would label them here at the school. The way they label them at the county is different. I used to work for one of the counties, and I always said, we need to label these the same way because it's kind of confusing, but they label them different. So
I can
I'll just have to
understand
find out.
the voter approved levy, but then there's the other local levies, and that's the number that really jumped.
And that is what I'm going to find out for everyone.
Any other questions or comments related to the truth and taxation section?
On that on the list, that I would like to say that I appreciate that you brought out how the tax dollars aren't keeping up with inflation, but nobody's pay is including yours.
Yeah.
So that argument is lost on everybody that has a paycheck.
How about anything from board members? Questions? Okay, thank you very much, Julie. John, did you want to do your other public comment now, or do you want to wait until after the?
I can happily, thank you,
And just if you want to go, like, if people want to leave, then,
yeah.
so you can go now if you'd like.
I'm a commercial property owner and a residential property owner. Everybody should thank me when they look at my tax bill.
Can you come, maybe
Sure.
just sit by Mr.
Everybody
Brown?
should thank the commercial property owners for their their contributions to taxes. But I'm not here because of the 14% or whatever that the other levies are going up. I appreciate everyone that's here is here because they want to be of service. They're not doing it, you're not doing it for the pay or the prestige. That's pretty obvious. But I would like to say that I'm not seeing on the agendas ever what the test scores are for the students. And your budget's going up, and if you were in private sector, we're throwing money at something that isn't having improvement, and I don't see that on the agendas. The school district should be talking about this at every meeting and tracking it, and I'd like to bring those numbers out so that other people can hear them. And I'm going to give you just 5 cities. I'm going to do it quick. In Houston County, I'm going to exclude the Houston School District. They have about 1,980, let's say 2,000 students, 460 are in brick and mortar. You can't look at their budget because they've got a big number, and it's the online schools, and those kids come from all over the state. Mabel Canton, I'm going to give math, reading, and science. Mabel Canton has 48.9, 63.9, 54.4. Rushford Peterson, same order, 52.7, 49.3, 37.3. Spring Grove, 54.1, 53.7, 46.4. Caledonia, we should send our kids there, 56.4, 62.6, 47.8. If you add those numbers up simply, they're 167, 139, 154, 168, and here comes the Crescent with 36.9, 46.3, and 30.7 for a total of 113.9. That's a dumb matrix. I don't know that that matrix makes sense, but we're 32% below the highest school, Caledonia, and we're 19% below the lowest school. And those schools have levies per student far less than what the Crescent's asking for. That's the end of my argument. I think that should be your focus and the school's focus. And I know that you people are concerned with these numbers. I also know how much the state's increased the budget, and I know that the state is funding school lunches and everything. Remember that the state isn't some entity. The state is these people here and you. So those monies aren't free. They shouldn't be considered free money. Spring Grove has a levy of $1,945 per student, and somebody should help me. We're somewhere between $4,600 and $4,900 per student over the state aid. If I'm wrong, I'm close. At least in percentage, I'm right. I think that other than that, I don't have a real comment for you. I'd like to say that it takes a little money and invest in a real flag, okay? And put it up here. This isn't right that we have a little something to stick out in my grass to say the Pledge of Allegiance. And other than that, thank you all for what you do. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Is this your phone, sir?
Not Sir, I'm John, but yes.
Oh. Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
I'd have been bad.
I'm a mom, I always check. You left stuff.
Hey, slut. Good night, everyone.
Night. Okay. Everyone, we're good? Good? Alright. Let's get back on track on the agenda of Carlson. Alright, we are on number 6, which is the audit presentation, and we have our guest presenter here. Welcome. We're glad you found us. We switch spots on you.
I just join you right here.
Yep.
I brought the copies. I apologize for being late. I like to be a little bit early usually, and I did something I shouldn't do. I assumed the meeting would be the same place it's been the last 10 years or so.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know it either, Greg. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. And then I figured there's only one part of the parking lot, the light's not on in that building, so I drove around to the other side and saw a bunch of lights, and I think there's a gymnastics meet or something there, and that door didn't open for me either. So then I got the email back. I knew to go to the right place. I have these copies here. If you want to pass out to them. I like paper. I think it's going to be up on the screen.
Here, I'm Greg Larson. I thank you for letting me come tonight to present the audit report. We had two choices. My choice would be go through the 75-page report, but the superintendent said, no, I don't need to do the 75-page report. We need to do the 17-page. I like numbers more than most people, and I think you had a lot of stuff on your agenda tonight, so I'll try and keep it as brief as I can.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, my voice is a little bit scratchy, so if you have trouble hearing me, let me know. I'll try and speak up. Here, I'm going to start off on page 1. If we could go down a couple pages here. One more page yet here. And this is basically a highlights from the audit report. The audit opinion, it's a 3-page letter that says that in our opinion that these financial statements are fairly stated. It's what we call a clean audit report. Internal control over financial reporting, we have 5 findings. In there, we'll look at that in just a little bit here. In Yellow Book compliance, we didn't have any issues. And the same with Minnesota legal compliance, we didn't have any issues. The internal control letter is on the next page. Here, we talked about the findings. The first one, if you've been on the school board, you've heard this one before. We helped the district write up the audit report. This is the same for, I guess the second one would be that one. The limited staff is one that you would have heard too. You do have limited staff here. You do have a little more staff than some school districts have, but I still feel that this is an important comment. Here, one of the things we just talked about is it would be good if you had a school board member that reviewed the list of all the invoices at a board meeting or before. I served one term on a school board in my home district, and that's kind of different to have a school auditor as a treasurer, but they actually sent me a list of the checks. I was one of the few people that actually knew what the codes meant. But I think it still would be good if you had somebody in your board that had the time before a meeting just to review the list of bills, so somebody had a feel for what's being paid. A lack of control over financial reporting. This is the one where we help you write up the audit report. This is not unusual. It's pretty common for districts to have the auditor help write up the audit report. The next 3 things deal with the student activity counts. You've had some change in the business manager position for several years, so I think that Julie's going to be here more than 1 year, so she might get a chance to make a correction for this thing here. There was some student activity counts where they're missing some purpose forms. There's some with negative balances, and there's some with no activity. So basically, the ones with no activity just means you probably don't need those accounts anymore. You can probably get rid of those. And then there's just one other comment we had here. You have had a change in business managers. One of the other things we recommend that could improve the internal controls would be the business manager review the payroll summary after each payroll. And then on occasion, do a comparison to the budget to see that what's being paid actually makes sense. Here, you've got a long-term employee there, probably one of the longest term in the business office there. I have no questions, but I think it's just good to have that extra internal control step in place, and Julie said she could do that, so I think it would be a nice step to do there. So that's what we have on the internal controls. The next page is what we call the governance letter. Some auditors do a combined letter. We do a separate one. So we had some things we had to review. There's a new accounting standard, the subscription-based information technology arrangements. We reviewed that, and Julie felt there's no technology arrangements that have more than 1 year period that you could not cancel. So we didn't have to capitalize any of those things, which is what we were hoping we didn't have to do. The other thing is it talks about some other areas, difficulties. We didn't have any difficulties. As far as I know, we corrected any misstatements. Disagreements, I'm not aware of any disagreements we had with your staff. Manager representations, when I was here on the 13th, there was a representation letter that was signed saying that the district's not aware of any pending litigation, not aware of any fraud, and that there is no missing disclosures that they are aware of. Management consultation with other independent accountants. You have a clean opinion already, so you have no reason to shop around to find another person that would give you a better opinion. And the other audit findings or issues is just that Julie or the school district were to call with a question. We just assume you want the correct answer. We're not trying to guess which way you want us to answer it there. So, other matters are just saying that there's some additional information in the report there. So that's that letter. The next section is some statistics, and some of the people who are talking about the ADMs, that's one of the things we have in your page 7 is some information about your general fund, probably the most important fund of the district, and it shows, it's very hard to read there. Any of you that have a book, it's on page 7, it shows the revenues and the expenditures broken down by the different restrictions, and you can see that you did have a drop in your general fund balance this year. So it did go down. It's nice to see your budget for next year. Looks like pretty much a break-even thing, so that'll be nice. One of the things that usually happens that Julie mentioned briefly is that you do the preliminary budget, and then usually sometime in March, the business manager would take time to do a revised budget. I think Julie came in February, so she didn't have much time to be taking a look to revising the budget at that time. And I believe the year before, the business manager came in about that same time. So the last 2 years, you've had a change right at that time, and it makes it really hard. I appreciate the superintendent. She has a good attitude, and she's pretty optimistic that things will be fine going forward.
Yep.
So,
We're good.
yeah.
We've had enough change. We're good.
And page 8 is the general fund. It includes the assigned and the non-spendable. You do have a large assigned fund balance. I talked with Julie to finish up the audit report. And she said, yeah, we do need that large assigned thing. You've got some projects you want to do going forward there, but you can see that fund balance did drop there. The restricted fund balances went up a little bit this year. On page 9, we show the operating capital as a restricted fund. That one did go up this year. Long-term facilities maintenance is pretty much holding its own. Food service fund, it shows the last 5 years, and Julie did mention this in her report. In 2022, the federal people funded your food service meals, and so most districts saw a jump. I'm not sure if we saw this big a jump, but that was a big jump in your food service program. It did drop off a little bit this year, and then the community service fund on the bottom of the page shows that has dropped a little bit from the year before. The debt service fund normally would hold its own. The bottom of the page, I'm assuming that I missed this part of it, probably the funding part should be very similar to what you had, is that most of the funding comes from state source revenue, followed by local property taxes. And then the page 12 is the page they wanted to see, is what is the drop in your student attendance. So the average daily membership did drop a little bit this year from last year. You can see that it's dropped over the 5-year period. 20 to 21 has stayed pretty even there, which we didn't see in all districts. COVID, any of you that served on the school board during that time, I give you credit, because that's a terrible time to serve on the school board because of the state mandates coming down and the difference of opinion between your residents. I'm sure it's just like our district. It was a very tough time, so I give you credit for making it through that period. The bottom of the numbers where we start showing some numbers based on some different expenditure categories that's in your regular district audit report. These are costs per average daily membership. So unfortunately, as your student numbers drop, the cost per student goes up, unless you do, as the superintendent mentioned, is that the hard thing would be to say your class size drops and now you have to drop one teacher, or drop some part-time things. Very hard to do, but this is district school administration and support services would be the top 2 line, and the general fund expenses. And so we're comparing, we have numbers for 19 through 23 for your local district. So you can see the costs did go up. And we have numbers for statewide averages. And I'm a little bit colorblind, so I had a little trouble with your charts. I can see white and I can see blue. I'm not sure what that column on the outside color is, but
red.
The red. Okay, so then we have the white column is showing the statewide average for all districts, and the outside column would be districts of similar size. Again, we can get numbers for 22 because they're out there. I can't get numbers for 23. So when we were doing this comparison, this is comparing 22 numbers for other districts. So just keep that in mind as we go through this, as we're comparing other districts to 22 numbers. I wish I could do 23, but they're just not there yet. Regular instruction. When you look at the 22 numbers for regular instruction for your some of the size districts, I'm not sure why the statewide average was that high. Because otherwise you're right in line with the other districts. Career and technical instruction, your vocational instruction is a little bit higher than the average there. So you have a little bit more robust costs there. The other one that's on the next page, special ed, your costs did go up this year. When you look at compared to the year before, 22 costs, your 22 costs were right in there, but the 23 costs are up. Again, I haven't seen anybody else's 23 costs to see what they're averaging there. But I know districts that have been a little bit on the high side compared to statewide numbers. We talked about it earlier. I know there you mentioned there were some special ed additions to cost that you had this year. I can't remember what they were. But, instructional support costs, you had some additions to the cost this year that was up there. I don't know if there was some technology things that you added this past year. Pupil support services on the next page. This is excluding pupil transportation costs, and so when you look at the 2 pages, the one page is up, the one page is down. So I don't know if there could be some things between those two that are coded differently between other districts. Site buildings and equipment and capital expenditures. Your costs are a little bit below the other districts. The food service, by the history. And we've seen this in all the districts. The costs are up. The food costs are up there. So that, and you're pretty much right in line with schools of similar size when you compare 22 numbers. The transportation costs a little bit higher than the average. When I was here last week, I got to sit in your conference room at the administrative building. There's a nice map on the wall that shows your school district size. Very interesting. Because if you look at the map, there's some areas where you have some gaps where somebody else is going to Houston district, or they're going to a different things. It's like you drive right around the circle of people that are going to a different district. So I'm guessing you do have a fair amount of miles on your bus routes. Community service on page 17 shows again you do have a robust community service program here compared to other districts. And then the debt service fund here shows that basically districts of similar size, you're right in the ballpark, a little bit higher than the statewide average. Here, again, I went through that very quickly. I think I kept in line with what the superintendent wanted me for a time frame.
We're good.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any questions. I'd like to thank the staff here for working with us on the district audit. I appreciated their time. And I do appreciate the opportunity to come here, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've got the other copies here for you too, if you like me to give those to you. So.
Oh, it's right up there, so you can sign it while it's here. Yeah.
So it sounds like we need a motion to approve the audit.
Move to approve.
Second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, those in favor of approving the audit findings, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the audit findings have been approved by the board.
I loved this. This was so informative.
Yeah.
It was really awesome.
We have them going back years too, so. I have them all in my office, and so does Julie have them in there, so. Just when you want a little light reading.
Wonderful. I'll just step by.
Just whatever you want light reading. Yeah.
Okay, so I need to sign
Julie, you're going to pass the document.
I don't know.
Was
No,
there
I
a
don't.
document you signed? Did you
Going
find
in
it?
front.
I didn't sign for my stuff, no.
That's
Oh, great.
Okay, we will keep moving along then. Board member report.
Yes.
Jeff?
Yeah.
Danielle?
No reports.
No recordings.
And I also did. We are at administrative report.
We skipped the announcement up there though.
Oh, yes, we did.
Sorry, Erin. There is a
Thanks, Jacob. I get you covered.
major award.
A major
Sure.
award.
Major award.
Yes. Major award, MSBA's
Fragile,
President's
fragile.
Award for,
French.
basically earned because of hours of training and service and pieces that have attended. Eric will be honored at the MSBA luncheon.
Congratulations. Thank you for all your help.
Thank you as well. Something that kids, fireworks.
Yeah, isn't it this though? That's the fuse, right?
Okay, moving
You
along.
guys are so hip.
We have
They're lit.
administrative report, and we have high school first.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief since we're already a ways in. If you want to click that first link that's there. So Lancer Locker is the name that we went with for our school food pantry. This was something that was sent out to all of our students, just kind of walking through kind of what is the Lancer Locker, where is it, what can you access, so you can kind of view that if you want to, maybe kind of click through. But Lancer Locker was something that we kind of saw a need for. You know, it's not a 50% of our students or anything like that, but we estimate there's probably a good 10 to 15% of our students that are food insecure on a pretty regular basis. So we wanted to try to do something for them. We had a group that started talking. Cody was a part of that group. We had Beth as a part of that group. Our middle school, high school social worker, Kate Madison, was a part of that. We had Susan from the Community Food Shelf. Those are kind of the big members who met routinely. Then we brought in some other sources periodically. Mindy Carney from Methodist Church was also there. But then brought in a few other people to kind of get their input and their insights, and kind of figured out how is this going to work. So we were very happy. You can see this was all the food that we generated through our food drives that we had at the school. It was overall over 2,000 food items that we gathered. So a very high number of food items. Yeah, from the 1 week of high school, middle school food drive. Elementary did a little bit before, that got us about 250 items, and then they also, because the program we went through, got a cash donation that we can then use to purchase additional things for the Lancer line. So we're really excited and to see, how can students get there, where it is, when it's running. We run on Tuesdays and then typically Fridays, unless it's a short school week, because the community food shelf is open Wednesdays and Thursdays. So we are very intentional to not duplicate efforts. This is trying to be a kind of additional piece. This is for students. We are not open to the community. We're open purely to our students. So we're reaching a little bit different demographic, but we're really excited about the Lancer Locker and seeing what it becomes. But long term, we are hoping to increase this to providing clothing, also to having some tutoring and mentorship services that are offered within the space. But it's something that we're really excited about.
We still have kids using laundry machines?
We don't, but that's something we've talked about, is having some kind of laundry service that is available. Yeah, because we do have, down in our fax area, there's washers. We also have a few others that, could be used.
And we don't have a backpack program in the high school, that's just in the elementary?
Correct. There's only one family that's currently using it.
In the elementary?
Yeah.
How's that possible?
Well, tell me about it. We've been working on it,
Yeah.
but.
So the need is there, they're just not.
Correct.
Wow.
Is it hard to find because of the free lunch?
The data has gotten much harder to find, yes, because even though it provides, it's educational benefits is what it's actually called. It provides so many different things, but because it was free and reduced lunch was the name of the program for decades. Mm-hmm. Now that food is free, people think, well, that's all I got, so I'm not going to fill out paper.
If there's a way to add it in at the beginning of the year when we do all of our registration, I would recommend shoving it in there and having it just be like,
It is.
It is optional, but click. Is it?
Yeah.
I don't even remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Do you have to go to it though? Can you
I think you can choose to not fill it out.
choose?
Yeah.
Alright.
A couple of years ago, we threw out, if you filled out one of those forms, even if you didn't qualify, you would get a ticket to all the games. I don't remember what it was called, but just to try to get people to fill out, because historically, I think that's kind of rural Minnesota anyways, people doing more with less, but I mean, yeah, we're a much higher incidence of that happening than what our numbers show in the free and reduced column. And just think, if we had those numbers, we'd get more funding.
Can we just make it mandatory to fill it out?
That's the rub.
And one of the things that I've tried to do since I've been here is I visit with Susan a lot, and I go to the food shelf, and I make sure that they have the educational benefits forms there, and that the staff will talk to the shoppers that are coming in and say, hey, this is another way you can have supplements and, talk about the benefits you have there.
And this has been up for a week or 2 weeks?
The Lancer Locker, this is week 2.
Week 2.
So it's been open 3 days so far.
And how has traffic been in there? I mean,
it's slow. We knew it would be slow because if anything new, they're a little bit hesitant.
Sure.
We have had one student family that's been represented. I think it's been there all 3 days it's been open. And then, so a very high need there. And then there's been a sprinkling of others. So I think as far as individual students, we're at 6, 5, somewhere in there. Around there. Yeah.
So the comment about test scores earlier, but we have food insecurity in the building. I mean, number one, that shouldn't be happening in Little Norway, but it is. Yeah. And so, just like the police, you are tasked with not only teaching them, but also giving them life lessons and making sure that their hygiene is taken care of. You're asked to be social workers. I mean, we shouldn't have this, but we do. So
you gotta play with the team you have, right?
You
gotta play with the team you have. So
this is true.
Yep.
I still am interested in the test scores though, because
Well,
I
sure.
don't think Houston or Caledonia or Spring Grove has a different situation than we do with the food insecurity. So at some point, I do think that still needs to be looked at. And we did talk about that briefly when we met in Hoka, whatever month that was. We did talk about that a little bit. So I don't recall anyone being at that meeting though to hear us talk about it.
That's what yeah. And my last thing I'll say, your ability to climb a ladder is not a good way to tell how smart the fish is, right? So, not everyone is a standardized test taker, but I agree. We need to talk more about the test scores, but they're not the one answer.
Agree. However, they also have kids that aren't good test takers, and so do we.
I'm not debating you, April, on that. All right? Just.
I went to your next link.
Okay, good. So before we get to that, Lily talked a little bit about our activity day. Somebody came and said, well, how come we didn't do this last year? And the answer was, I didn't know we did this before. So I guess pre-COVID, there was a day before break that it was a activity day similar to like Homecoming Friday. So we're bringing that back this year and going to see how it goes. So we're excited about that. Students are excited. So all kinds of different activities, some academic, some not. So. And then for the spotlight for this month, took a little departure, not spotlighting a school program, but actually spotlighting a former graduate. So this is a national award that Noah Bjerke-Weezer was nominated for and ended up winning. So there's, if you go up a little bit, I go to honorees. So this is something that's going to be on TV. You can see him in very nice looking suit with the bow tie right there. It's looking sharp. So this is something that will be on TV on December 24th. So if you want to kind of watch the awards, but yeah, him and his whole family, both sides of the family, got a trip down there. They were down there for a few days for the award. Yeah, pretty big honor. So when you're up there with, Major League Baseball players and national commentators, and, some college athletes, and then Noah from Little Town Wood Wrestling. So pretty exciting. So just wanted to spotlight that. He deserves all the praise. Big deal. So, okay. And then we're 13 days until the end of the semester. Shortly after semester 2 starts, we actually start our registration process for next year. So, just making you aware of that comes quick. So.
Did we have any intention of putting that on our district, the Wisconsin Public Schools Facebook page? Highlighting?
You can have that done. Yeah.
I think that would be a good, the whole student.
Well, if I can pipe in a
mentality.
little bit too, his message was about sportsmanship and about being a good spectator and about respecting the game and the officials. And that is something as a district we need to continue to have at the forefront. I supervised the game last week, and the officials had to come over to me, and I told them, I said, I'm keeping an eye on him. One of our spectators was being disrespectful, was being loud, boisterous, and I said, I appreciate that, but I'm going to point at him just to make a point. And he stopped, everything stopped, and he came over and he pointed up at the person in the crowd, and that's embarrassing. Our fans need to do better, and so we need everybody to remember Noah's message on a regular basis, and we need our adults to be upstanders like we encourage our children to be. And so I just think this needs to be something that's not a one and done. It was a great award and an accomplishment and recognition, and that's done and over with. It needs to be ongoing.
Noah can come in and do a thing for something that you do, Jacob, or
Well, it's parents.
It's parents.
I mean, this is the parent of a.
And it's the same parents over and over and over again.
But if we can get it in
Influential parents in our community.
where we can.
I had spoken with Terry after that game too. I wasn't at it, but I had people messaging me about it, and it needs to stop. It's embarrassing. Yeah.
Okay. So a couple different things going on at the middle school. Our our 8th graders are continuing with their service learning projects, coming to the elementary school and working with the little ones here. They were with 1st grade, this last month, and are making plans to work with the 2nd graders this next month. A lot of positive feedback from both the 8th grade teachers, the 8th grade students, and the elementary people as well. So that's something really cool that we're going to continue. And then one thing I really want to do is kind of point out kind of the type of staff that I am fortunate enough to work with. We did a community action project with Pizza Ranch, at the end of November, and it was a volunteer thing. I threw it out as a staff meeting. It's like, hey, is this something that we want to, do? Pizza Ranch is willing to give us 10% of their bill at the end of the night for a 5-hour time span, and any tips that we get, and it was just volunteer. It's 17 staff members that took time away from their own personal time to come and bus tables and talk with the people that came in to eat and help out and clean up, and it was
What percentage
awesome.
of your middle school staff is that?
That's more than half. Yeah, and it was great. I mean, and the manager Ben is a former La Crescent graduate. So that was really cool, and just a lot of positive feedback from the staff there. $659 we raised in 5 hours. And that'll go towards our PBS program, our rewards and incentives and things like that. And it's just a testament to the commitment that the middle school teachers have made to making our school a better place, and it was just very much appreciated and a pretty awesome experience for all of us. And then just the rest is just in there for you to take a look at, and a couple pictures of our 7th grade door decorating. I thought they did a nice job. It's kind of a fun advisory project as well. So that's about it for now.
I was snoozing back here and didn't put pictures up.
Are there any questions or comments?
Thanks, Jeff.
Alrighty, on to elementary.
Today was the best kept secret at the elementary school. We did our holiday sing. None of you were invited. Because it's not open to the public. It's for our kids, it's for our staff, and it was a really nice event. It became very unmanageable in years past, and that's why it's very small. But the kids did a great job. Barb Bjornstad does amazing to get 350 people doing the same thing at the same time. It tugs at my own band director heartstrings, and I helped keep the pulse. 1st grade was pushing it, but we did a great job today. If you click on that link, you'll see our newsletter that's organized by our 3rd grade teacher, Emily Sebo, and 4th grade teacher, Carly Boston. They wanted to help this positive outreach, which is kind of like the news from the classroom, but it's elementary specific. And so this newsletter goes out as a PowerPoint. It goes out to service clubs and organizations in our community so that they know the good things we're doing, and hopefully then fills the circle that puts that positive spin on things and gets enrollment up. So that's there for you to check out, and we can jump out of that and get back to because this is probably stealing the Education Minnesota report. Sorry in advance. If you jump back in there, just looking forward to a little bit of time away to rejuvenate. We're to talk about data and test scores. We are having data meetings that we look at how we're doing in the classroom, and we have assessments that we do 3 times a year, and then there are data meetings where teachers get together to talk about what are the kids doing, what do we as professionals need to do to improve. So that's something that we're investing in, and Mindy and Sarah Payne are leading that initiative. So that work is happening, and there's a new dashboard that's going to really help us make informed decisions and really dig into that data, which is what he's kind of getting at, is how do you know what you're investing in is working? And that's what we're going to be looking at. So just want you to know that stuff is happening, even though it's not necessarily splashed in front of you every single month. And that's it. Thanks for all your support. We appreciate it. Looking forward to tomorrow's potluck, which you're probably also not invited to.
I've got a quick question. Do we have many parents that are opting out of their kids taking the test?
There are a fair amount. It's not as significant, but each one of those is a goose egg, and that lowers our aggregate test number. So
How
if
about,
there's
okay, how about in high school and middle school?
conscientious objectors would have a negative impact. Yep.
Fair amount.
High school has a limited amount of standardized testing, because once they get through 8th grade, they only take each test once more before they graduate.
Well, the dashboard he's looking at is just that one Minnesota report card, which is based on 8th grade and standardized testing.
Oh, this gentleman back here.
Yeah.
So that's the report.
So
that counts as a 0 for every.
Yeah.
How does that make sense?
Why would that, there's no reason that should count as a 0.
Write your.
they should have that as like an asterisk on there,
Yeah,
like
right?
10 students were considered 0 due to not taking the
I would
test or
say high
something,
school
'cause
we
that
have
is
probably
terrible.
10 to 15% that opt out.
Well, yeah, because if they find out they can, I mean.
Well, and so Spring Grove has such high numbers, right? I was in the school a couple of years ago, and in a classroom, and they had, like, the bell schedules were off. It was a silent day when it was a test day. They had treats. I mean, they were dialed in. And I don't know if we can do that here or not, if we're too big.
We divide the test up, you're talking about the Minnesota Comprehensive Assessment.
Whatever the test
it's divided up into little parcels, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The teachers they do practice work, they do practice tests. They don't teach to the test, but they do prepare students
well, that's the conundrum, right?
What I find, if we're going to just dip our toe into philosophically why this might be happening, is we have a lot of apps and things that entertain the children and help them learn. The Minnesota Comprehensive Assessment looks a little like that. It's text heavy, it is not fun, it is not user friendly. Sorry. That's tight. That's great information. But imagine a 3rd grader put in front of that on their Chromebook and has to click, read it.
So how do you battle the apathy then? Because do the kids? I mean, are there kids out there like, well, this doesn't matter, so I'm just gonna Christmas tree?
Former school administrators used to offer a pizza party for kids that gave a good effort. I don't know if that would motivate kids at the secondary level anymore. We try not to put too much pressure on kids because I think you hit it on the head. Some of them are like debilitating anxiety over this because we're trying to really put our best foot forward. I think it's a balance of teaching to the standards, and if we're doing so effectively, we'll close that gap. So we're making strides to do classroom interventions and respond to the data while not necessarily losing a ton of sleep over that one day in time.
Gotcha. Didn't mean to derail.
No, it's a great question because I think there's a couple valid angles to it.
And has the testing continued to stay relevant with what's being actually taught? I mean, is it kind of archaic still? Or
no, I think I shouldn't throw too much shade at the MDE. They do a process that's like decade long to make sure the assessment is valid and is appropriate and is vetted by professionals. I've attended like seminars on how they create these assessments. They are juried and they're valid. That is also to say that they're not designed to be particularly like engaging or fun. And what we do all day is put things in front of kids to get them as close to YouTube engaged as we can, because that's what we're competing against.
It's kind of hard, isn't it, to give a kid an out and expect them not to take it?
Well, and there's certain like exemptions. You have to fill out a form. It's like a parent form. It's not just a kid form that they.
But going to stamp it.
That also, if a student just isn't into it and just click, we try to coach them up so that they don't do that. If they do, that counts as a whatever score it was. Yep.
I do think that should count. But if they're opting out to take it,
Yep.
What do I write to? Who do I write to about that? That's a policy that
statewide testing, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and they put that in because there were districts that were telling their bottom 50% opt out. And only testing their top 50%. So their scores looked really good.
Isn't that what they do with college test scores? They don't count the ones that don't take it.
Pete gets the,
Other school, everybody took it, other schools didn't.
But I mean, there were districts that were doing that to make their scores look good.
Yeah.
They said, okay, anyone
we're not
who
gonna
opts
need
out
you to come in tomorrow.
Well, then the data should at least be presented correctly with them,
Yeah.
with an asterisk saying, this percentage didn't take it, which drops the score by this much.
Right.
So you should be able to see the actual score versus the adjusted.
Well, and we tend to
Well, mine sounds
see
fun.
at high school level a lot of juniors opt out because it's offered very close to the ACT. And it's better if the MCA is before the ACT, that goes, you have fewer, but there's a lot of juniors that opt out because they say, I'm going to take the ACT in a week, or I just took the ACT last week, I'm not taking it out next.
Well, how are we doing on that compared to other schools?
As far as
ACT scores.
ACT scores,
Yeah, used to be
it's
really good.
tough to find exact other school scores, but we're pretty close to the state average. Yeah. So,
But that's of the kids that take it.
Right.
We're not
Yeah.
penalized for
Right.
the
There's
ones that
no
don't take it.
zero
Right.
or
Yeah.
yeah, none.
Which is a better indication where you're at.
Correct. Yep.
Maybe we need to highlight that.
But the kids that take it are the ones that are planning probably to go to college,
Right.
right? And the ones that don't take it.
Not
Don't need
necessarily.
to.
Yeah, they
So it's an incomplete measure. I mean,
Right.
it's, you're talking about 15% of your high school. So is that an accurate measure of your overall high school health? No.
But
It's a data point like everything else. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going. Community ed.
Sorry. This is a great report, by
Hey,
the way.
thanks.
Pictures at the end, right?
Yes, there are.
Yeah.
In this
Imagination.
report, I wanted to really highlight the adult and youth enrichment classes we've been having this fall. Jody and Bernie have been doing an excellent job, and we've had more classes go again and had participation up to pre-COVID numbers again. It's been such a fun semester. So, I mean, look at all those numbers of people that are adults coming into the building to learn Spanish, that are doing charcoal drawing, that are making chunky blankets. And we had FCCLA did their fundraiser with us, Kids Night In, Parents Night Out. And it's been a great fall. Travel's also taken off. We still have some classes coming up in January. Our catalog goes October to January, and then the next catalog comes out at the beginning of January. And you will note there is a nice 8-page section from the Office of the Superintendent that unveils the strategic roadmap to the community. So,
And I think that's going to become a permanent feature. Is my plan in the community ed, the district will put the cost for 8 pages or whatever, and then
and now you may scroll down to the pictures.
we'll be able to put in all the information the community wants to hear. It goes to every school in the district, or every residence in the district. And so I just think that's a great way to get some PR out there.
That's a
And
good
so
idea.
it is.
We had snowmen at the district office. We had charcoal drawing. There's Addison and her little snowy Santa. Isn't he cute?
She does such a good job.
Oh, I know. And that, right? I know. Chunky blankets. These are all the rage right now. Super fun. And Summer Thorson showed us how to literally do the work of the screen printing. And Jody said, I will never, ever, ever ask her to add another shirt to an order again. That is hard work. So that was a fun time. And was there another one there? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, look. I got to take a class. Yay.
The
And
girls
just
at
like
the
Jen.
bank love the hot yoga, or whatever it's called.
The hot yoga?
Yeah.
Sweaty dance.
Sweaty dance party.
Okay.
There we go. Yep.
Same thing.
Yeah,
And then this
basically
is
the same thing.
FCCLA Kids Night In. So, yeah. Should do what? Oh, yeah, goat yoga. That would be, I'd have to check our policies on goats in the building, but that would be fun.
Just gotta clean up a bit.
Yeah.
As long as it's sustainable.
Near the building.
All right, on to buildings, grounds, and transportation, and I saw some very nice wayfinding signs hanging in the building packet.
Oh. It only took a little bit, but they're up.
Okay.
Been getting lost.
Really great.
So,
there's been some preliminary IAQ work being done. They're running some electrical into the kitchen storage for the chiller that's going on the roof, hopefully next summer. And then there's some other stuff there, but then we're down a couple of custodians. There's photos below, some projects. The gym scoreboard signs are up thanks to the sponsors.
This is gonna be where
There's gonna be a transformer.
transformer here.
You know, outside the library, there's a transformer out in the grass on a pad. There's gonna be one that has to go there because it's Excel Energy's preferred path.
And so, and what I found out about this today, I just signed off and we sent in the order for this because they're talking that these are like 52 weeks out.
Wow.
So.
Is that for the new chiller?
Yep. There's the basketball court outside here.
Those are great. Yeah.
Those are
Pretty locked in at 10 feet. I saw a second grader sink a 3-pointer. The future's bright.
There's no lines.
The lines will go in
They're
probably.
imaginary right now.
You don't know it was a 3-pointer?
It was awesome.
Use your imagination.
And the bank was open on a Tuesday. It was great. Tuesday recess.
There's the concrete pad, concrete apron for the net for the softball field. Looks very nice with the new infield. There's the sponsorship sign. There's 2 new doors there. Those were installed 2 sets of doors last summer. If I was to take a picture last summer, that would have been on there, on the report. But there's them, and then there's the other scoreboard sign. There's a wayfinding sign.
That's for April.
Nice.
I like
That's
the
it. I got a
hanging
blank
from the
picture.
ceiling ones. Those are.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids are good. Yeah, those look really nice.
Oh, yeah, every day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, our kids do.
Every day what?
So
Oh, the
it's
hitting
a-
the signs?
It's a
Yeah.
jump.
I mean, I even want it.
We'll be done before as well.
We'll yell at you next basketball game.
I can't reach.
Doesn't mean you won't try.
Just like this.
I fixed like 15 ceiling tiles last night in supervision, so you're welcome. Whoever had.
Yeah, ceiling tiles are a thing.
I know. We install them at like 9 feet.
Go
It is
around
what
and
it is.
put them back in place.
That's my thing.
Okay, we are on 11F, superintendent report.
Okay, and I did not get mine attached, and I'm here being Brittany because she went home sick today. And basically, we're finishing up the year, we've got a lot of projects that we're tying up. I got my final date, biggest thing I wanted to tell the board is I got my final date for my surgery. And so surgery will be February 8th, that's why I've asked for the leave around that time. Anticipating that it's going to be probably 2 to 3 weeks where I will be pretty much out of commission. And then, but I'll start working from home slowly at that time. So if it's not too much pain, I'll start working ahead of time. If it is, I might be excessively crabby. So I told Brittany and Julie, they're probably the only ones that can contact me for the first couple of days because they'll forgive me if I am crabby with them. And so we'll do that. It's a full 6 weeks before I can drive on my own. So coming in, I'll either have to have someone get me or take the Apple Transportation. But it's the time of year where I do a lot of budgets and you know, working on. I'm going to work on some policy. I'm going to work on some budgets. I'm going to, you know, do some teaching and some FTE stuff. So I'll probably be pretty busy there. But I'll have my cell phones on so anyone can call anytime they want to. But if I just say, ow. And the only reason I'm a little nervous about it is I am completely allergic to every narcotic. And so I go into anaphylaxis. So I will probably be taking a lot of Advil and Tylenol like I told April the other day.
CBD.
Okay,
Just check the chronic.
Okay, we are at 12, Education Minnesota.
All right, it's a longer one, so I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. But for any of you with kids at home, anyone that's been in the building recently, you can tell a break is right on the horizon. But what we got here?
I'm trying to. This is not.
There you go. If we can jump right to slide 3, please, Mindy. Thank you so much. So we got pre-K gingerbread day. There's also a lot of gingerbread stuff going on at the high school. So preschool teachers, students, parents, grandparents, friends came in to do some gingerbread houses on Tuesday. Awesome to see 100+ people there. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of frosting if you got little kids there, but the looks on their faces, that's what makes it. Jumping to the next one here. So if you want to take a look at the left side of this photo, keep in mind this was taken on Thursday. I take offense to the fact this person is wearing a Bengals jersey. But these three people, and I'm sure you recognize a few of them, gave their personal time. So again, a lot of you are giving up your time to show up for our students, and it's incredibly important, and I'm very grateful for that. They watched 7 of their 5th grade students play basketball at Logan High. One asked, Ms. Pellinger said, well, someone left a post-it note on my keyboard, as the kids do, saying we play tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Logan, and I didn't want to disappoint. And no, you don't want to disappoint them. That's fun. In the cafeteria, so if you're looking on the left side, it's not just the teachers teaching at Crescent Oak Elementary. Custodians are getting some help, and that's a good time. That's fun to see. And on the right side there, the principal's administrative assistant was caught on the floor with her sewing kit out, reattaching a pom-pom to a sad little guy's Lancer stocking cap. It's good stuff. I had the privilege of serving as a peer coach in Nicole Greener's room the other day too. And there was a student that was done with their work, and they saw that there was messes all over the tables, and they just started cleaning. So it's fun to see the kids just step up, do those kinds of things. 8th grade students. So as you can see kneeling there, I do believe that's Mr. Shippey. 8th grade students spent part of the morning at the elementary school connecting with 1st graders. Those 1st grade students are pairing up with 8th grade students. 8th grade's been doing a lot of really cool stuff recently, so props to the middle school. They're reading stories to each other, working on math, coloring. There are a lot of really great things going on here. And as you can see, it gets those 8th grade kids kind of back into the whole mindset of I am still a kid and I can be a kid. But looking at those younger kids, how they light up, is really fun to see. Like, they idolize. I walk into a room, they don't care. They walk into a room, it's everything. So jumping to the next slide, just some more pictures. Again, making those connections. Kids look up to kids that are not all that much older than them. And again, we want to establish those connections. So I'm glad those things are happening. There's a lot of really cool things going on. Good connections being made. And again, Mr. Kopp, do not apologize. You did not steal any thunder. We steal yours. So Discovery Pre-K. Again, that big push, trying to keep kids in the district, but get them curious, working on that endurance at an early age, etc., because they carry that with them throughout their career. But working on collages, sculptures, problem solve, creativity, social emotional learning is also important, especially for kids those age.
Size of the prize.
Mm-hmm.
Big time.
But give them some blocks to let them work. It's really fun what kids will create. So kindergarten, Veterans Day. Kids put pattern skills to the test, made some red, white, and blue paper chains to decorate the gym for our school program. Again, giving respect and gratitude to other people is incredibly important, especially our veterans. Talked a lot about what they're thankful for, importance of being grateful for what they have. Again, I want to echo middle school as well. That is a big piece of what they're doing right now. Talking about gratitude, they actually came in to visit the Lancer Locker past couple weeks. Language arts, students are working really hard learning to read, spell sight words. Again, that stuff is important. That stuff doesn't end. 1st grade. So again, this is that finished product there on the right side. Thank you, veterans, with the poppies there, and then Thanksgiving dinner on the left side. Anyone know what they eat? Did they eat? It looks like they're having some sort of snack.
Adaptations on turkey dinner.
Okay, that's fun. I like that.
Deconstruction.
Yeah.
Yes.
2nd grade.
Foie gras.
Kids are building the Sydney Harbor Bridge. So again, if you've ever done this activity before, it's fun to do with anyone at any age to see how people problem solve. Going up to the top right, traveling around the world, learning about different cultures, peoples, ethnicities, etc. Getting out those comfort zones, learning about other people that are a lot more similar to us than we might think. And then visiting a troll from Norway. That was a nice touch there down at the bottom right. 3rd grade. I like that people are saying science is easy, build that confidence, homemade hovercrafts. 3rd graders are writing scary stories, and they shared them with classmates. I'm sure you were all curious too what those were about. The 3rd grade attended Dr. Kaboom at Viterbo. Sounds like a good time. I'm not familiar with Dr. Kaboom. That sounds like fun though. Jumping to 4th grade. So bottom left, Miss Boston's class learned about balloons in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. We know fourth graders making me feel bad about my art skills. Miss Thompson's class made life-size characters inspired by the book because of Mr. Terup. That's also one I'm not familiar with, but turned out great. As you can see, pretty talented. And this is a young group of kids. And then you got the Veterans Day program there on the right side. Again, just a whole building-wide extension of gratitude, creativity. It's good stuff. And then specials, singing for the veterans. If you look over to the far right, you can see Barb Bjarnstad there, kind of reinforcing that statement of how you can get 300 kids or people to just get up and do exactly what you want them to do. It's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. If you haven't had a chance to see it, it's pretty exciting and just it's a cool thing to see. Specials as well. Art, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders working on winter landscapes with northern lights. So again, a lot of really cool creativity. It's really beautiful what these kids are coming up with. Another special, students from Mrs. Trynowski's reading groups. They display their certificates for passing their Sunday mastery check. All students must pass with a score of at least 85% or better on the spelling portion and 90% or better on the reading portion. If you're familiar with statistics and things like that, those are pretty high standards. 85 to 90%, that's pretty lofty, so that's pretty cool stuff. Students of the month, going from left to right. Kindergartner Joseph Brown, 1st grade Hazel Nightingale, 2nd grade Maddie Visger, 3rd grade Ella Hill, and then 4th grade Hudson Newman. As you can see, Mr. Cops is like showing off his different poses.
Silver Surfer.
I'm always sore the next day.
Yeah.
5 deep knee bends.
Yeah, I totally get it. It's okay.
It's too much.
Wow.
That's serious.
Yes. Jumping to the next one. These were the quote-unquote Christmas elves. One of the things that makes me look forward to Secret Santa every year is that these kids come stop by my classroom every single day, a number of our classrooms every single day. Getting to communicate with them is just absolutely fantastic. And as you can see on the right side, people within that department clearly wanted to embarrass Sorry. But again, wonderful group of kids, wonderful group of people. It means a lot to see them. So I'm glad that they do that for us. And then as we go forward here, Lancer Locker, much of it's already been said. I just wanted to reinforce a big thank you to so many people. Student Council, Olivia Vandenberg, Ali Boddock, all the students in Student Council, support from FCCLA, Jenny Von Arks. We had so many students that weren't even a part of these organizations that have offered to help. We had kids at their own churches say, I want to help raise food. Can I do this with my pastor? Yes, absolutely. We had so many kids stepping up. Mindy Kearney, United Methodist, this one meant a lot to me because, again, we want to reinforce to people that we are an extension of the community. We're not saying no to different perspectives and different lifestyles. We are an extension. I don't think there was anyone, correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob, more excited to be a part of this, I think, than Mindy.
And I have to just share with everyone, as Lancer Locker opened, I got a personal email from Mindy just thanking the district for allowing the joint work between the church and the school, and said that in experiences that she's had, that doesn't always happen. And that since she's been here, she feels very warm and welcome.
She actually took time out of her day and called over to Holman. And I ended up talking to her about how to get more of the educational benefits filled out too. So she went outside of even.
And you were brought up in the meeting a number of times, so you're one of the many more. So thank you. Susan Hodson, Crescent Food Shelf, Jacob, Kate, Beth. I mean, so many people, and anyone that donated. I mean, that was a big cup filler for me. A lot of gratitude. A lot of people gave back.
Cody's being humble by leaving his own name off there. It's one of the main driving forces. So.
And this is the 4th science room that we don't have hold classes in at the moment?
Correct. This is the old science room that was not a part of the remodel.
Okay.
And it's perfect because of all the built-in cabinets and shelves and everything else that is there. So we, Cody went in on, I don't remember if it was Friday or Saturday, played it with power drill for a while and took all the doors off. So he was very excited to do that.
Yeah, it's different than what I get to usually do. And then, and it's good that you moved on. I do want to thank LEGO League as well. They were very gracious about the transition. It just made the process very seamless. So FACS. Again, if you've not been in that FACS area, that place is immaculate. Heather Fisloff is doing just an absolutely astounding job in there. The kids are always busy with something new. There's so much variety in there, but career clusters is what's coming up. Fact 7. Students are choosing their own individual job career. They draw a picture that aligns with their choice, and then they just kind of run with that. And that's something really valuable, especially to me as a high school educator, because they bring that stuff to us, and those interests are things we can apply. Once we know what they're interested in, we can apply that to what we are teaching them. Same with middle school. Kids are cutting out and frosting holiday cookies. They're making, they're working on family dynamics. Every once in a while, I catch kids enjoying time before the bell rings, engaged in healthy competition. If kids tell you they don't like competition, step foot in a school and you'll find out that's just not true. And then co-curricular is just a really fun part of the day. Jumping to the next slide there. Foundations of cooking. Again, this is one of my personal favorites because you get to try what they cook. But students made sugar cookies, homemade Alfredo sauce, fettuccine, and then they're finishing up their gingerbread houses. They did their voting today, and those kids are cutthroat. They will do whatever they can to get your vote. They're doing a great job flowing recipes, learning life skills, showing off their creativity. This time of year is when teachers need to sub for each other, so students holding the real babies were visiting during recent third period, asked about them, so again, you get that curiosity. And then students learning, having fun each and every day. It's fun. It's really cool. Kids are having a good time in there. And I think that is it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We are on number 13. That is review and informational items.
42% is about where we want to be through November. We can look at general fund revenue. We're at 32% lower, but our expenditures are at 31%. So those are pretty even there, in and out. The number we would want to see is about 42%. If we go down to the very last sheet, you can see in total with all the funds, we're at 54% at revenue and 27% in expenditures, which is also good that we've gotten our revenue in before our expenditures are going out. You're going to see that revenue higher because of some of the debt service dollars that are in there. Go to the next one. Is there another one?
Balance sheet.
Balance sheet. Yeah. Balance sheet here, so our net income numbers now are up to date after the audit. So we can see that in the general fund that we're at 191. We look at the food service fund, we have the assigned balance, which is also all the food service dollars. So where the net income shows 36, that's just for that time period, but there's 538 in the assigned fund. Same with the community ed fund there, that would go against each other. If you go down to the bottom, then you can see our fund balance is at about 19.7%.
A quick question.
Yes.
Does Carrie submit her monthly reimbursement to the state monthly, or does she do it in like a chunk? Because I know we have 90 days to submit
For food service.
the food service for.
Actually, Brittany does that.
Oh, she does?
Yeah,
Is it
Brittany's
monthly or is it?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
So the month ends, and then usually it's within the first 15 days.
So it's pretty accurate.
Yes, because you only have so long,
Yep.
and then if you don't, you only get one exception for every 3 years. So it's very important to get those in time.
Do we run any risks having such a high food balance?
No.
Okay.
Well,
it's state mandated, so it's different, but we just got an extension for 6 months in Wisconsin. I don't know if USDA really doesn't mandate that in the state.
So the state of Minnesota does not want our fund balance that high. Every school in our area or in the state of Minnesota is in the same boat as we are because of the extra dollars.
Okay.
Last year they gave us, you don't have to turn in the sheet to tell us what you're going to do about having all these extra dollars in, actually the last 2 years. I'm assuming it'll be the same this year now that we have state funded meals. So
Nice.
they want us to use them, they want us to spend them, but it's hard because they put such restrictions on the way we can use them. You can't even buy lunchroom tables with them. I mean, it's just ridiculous restrictions. So.
Are you allowed to use any of that fund, those funds for food show?
I don't think so, no, because it's not,
Usually
no,
it has to
you
be
can't.
within the walls of the kitchen.
Correct, yes. Plus,
So
you'd
then
have to
cost
follow,
changes.
and you'd have to follow all the requirements, and those would not be following the requirements.
Like equipment and stuff like that, could be.
Any
Salaries,
equipment,
yeah.
yes.
I mean, they could buy
Salaries
a
are
new
paid out
oven
of
in
there,
there, they could buy, serving tables, they could buy.
And we have,
Yeah.
we purchased, and it should be coming in now, heat, warming unit, because their ones at the high school are so old and the others.
Are food service salaries paid out of food service, or is it the general?
It is out of food service.
I do have one request, related to budget.
Yes.
After you meet with the individuals, and go over their tax questions, I think it would be helpful for us to understand generally what did cause their increase within the district. Is it the facilities? Is it the?
Would you like me to make a statement right now on what I've already found, just sitting here?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested in that.
It seems odd that it's all,
So much.
Like,
all
it
goes
seemed
back
very
down.
high, but I didn't want to say anything because that is not my area of expertise.
So I can say I know one reason. So if I, can I say that?
Mhm.
Okay. So one of the people here, their home was valued at $385, went to $458 and went up by $73,000. The next home went from 406 to 561, went up by $155,000. Went from 59 to 87, up $28,000. 133 to 230, $97,000, and I have two more to look at. That is one of the main reasons they are paying more taxes.
Because they pay a percentage of that
Yes.
value.
So if we have property wealth like this, they're gonna pay more.
Yep.
Now, I can't tell you if that's everything, because I wanna look into the other, the line, other local levies.
The other local levies is
Yep.
what I'm.
Yep, and I wanna look into that, but I can tell you one reason right there is the assessor decided that they were going to assess those properties at a much higher property
And I
value.
do know Winona County did that too.
Yeah, we did in Hoka, and to be honest with you, we just called and said, we need you to review this, and then they did, and they brought it down a little bit.
In Houston County, they did that.
They did that too, because they changed the formula they
You
used.
told me to get bent.
So like I said, I have two more to
That's
look
La
at,
Crescent,
but.
Hoka forever.
Yeah.
No, I called the Houston County.
Yeah, but it's still La Crescent.
Yeah, but.
The value in La Crescent.
La Crescent's different than Hopa.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't adjust anything.
They're not allowed to raise it so much within 1 year, and if they do and you call,
Yeah.
they will break that down over so many years.
I got the wrong person then.
I did just email you all an article from the Winona Post that was posted today. The same group of people that were here tonight were there, just so you can read the responses that the Winona County auditors
But
gave
I don't
us.
see in that article, because I did read it, that they talked about how much they raised other property values.
They did not.
They did not.
Because they didn't
Thank
want to
you.
call out there.
Yeah. One more thing that I do want to just make sure that I reiterate from because there was a statement made about it during my presentation, is there was a comment question on the inflation screen or slide that I showed.
Yeah.
So what I was showing there was that because the state has not kept up with inflation, that causes the taxpayers to pay more if we're property wealthy. So if the state would have kept up with inflation, that would have been less out of our pocketbooks that we are not
That
seeing
we
raised
would,
as high.
the state would have to collect more, but we wouldn't have to levy for it.
We would not have to levy. And so I think that the people maybe did not quite understand what I was saying. So I just want to reiterate that was what my slide was trying to show.
If after you find out all of this, would you maybe do like a short facts thing, FAQs, and then we could post that somewhere?
Yes.
All the LTFM stuff we did last summer, is that on this tax yet? This tax cycle, or is that for next year?
Yes, that was one of the GO bonds that was on there, correct.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's a reason why.
And that's going to be another reason, but I didn't want to comment on that until I knew exactly what that meant, because I didn't want to be incorrect.
That'd be another good one to that.
And then HVAC would be the next.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah, that is not on there.
That's
That
not
is
on
That
not.
would be the next,
Yeah.
next year.
Correct.
So yeah, if we could just get a summary of your findings.
Absolutely.
That would be, I think, helpful for all of us to understand that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks, Julie.
And I don't have anything, I guess I do wanna say that, as the auditor pointed out, I came on board and it was revised time and I did a budget pretty soon after that for this year. I am very excited about doing the revised budget because I feel I know a little bit more. I know I haven't been here quite a year yet, but I think that, I just, and I know not always excited about new budgets, but I am. So I'm excited about doing the revised budget and see where we really are fitting in. And I'm feeling pretty confident that it's gonna look pretty good. So,
We're excited for you to do the revised budget.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to have the stability in there.
Yeah.
Oh, Julie is staying
I
with
am
us.
too.
She's
Thank you.
we're not letting her leave.
I'm not leaving. Thank you.
So, yes, that's gonna be good, because as we get better and better, we'll be able to refine some things and get some things done that we haven't been able to do in the past.
Okay, we are on enrollment, which also was mentioned during the comments.
And so if you look, we are total
Down.
ECSE, starting in September at 998, and then we're up to 2008 right now. But we are down from where we were several years ago.
And just a reminder that enrollment and ADMs are different. So those are different values. That's why this is 108 or 1008, and the other presentation is a different number. So the ADMs is a formula based on the age of the kid. And high schoolers are at 1.2 in that formula, and preschoolers are at 0.8.
Kindergarten.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
It was an interesting question too about is private school enrollment up for, my hypothesis is that more kids are online.
Yeah, correct.
So not private or public, but have gone online. I don't know that as
Private's seen a larger decrease than public has recently.
I know Houston has just blown up. Yeah.
The online course.
No, crucifixion they're maxed out. Like they're turning people away.
Interesting.
They determine St. Pete's.
There's wait lists. Yeah, St. Pete's.
Because St. Pete's is kind of low.
Yeah, they are.
I know at least 2 7th graders have gone to Aquinas instead here.
And this year we lost a 9th grader to Aquinas, at least one that I know of.
What is BIR again?
Bullying
Bullying. Okay.
The reports online.
Gotcha.
So we're on to student behavior report. Anyone want to comment or?
Clarifying, the 0.5 was a half day in school for a kiddo that just needed to spend the day with me. It's not like a half a kid.
We're really short.
The right side was sorry.
Oh, is it her? She's better.
Okay, no questions, comments? I think at one point we did ask to see of the submitted bullying reports how many were substantiated versus dismissed. Are we working toward being able to provide that at some point?
Of my 4 that I had reported, 2 of the 4 were founded.
On average, about half.
0 to 2.
And I don't know if this data is possible, but I'd be curious to know how many are like repeat offenders, or is it all
For behavior referrals you're talking?
Or bullying incidents?
No, for behavior referrals.
Oh,
yes.
referrals.
If there's 10, are 8 of them one kid throughout the month, or?
We'll have
Most of the time, yes.
we'll have
Yes,
better data
that's
on that
important
as
to
we
know.
use the dashboard, because right now that is a component part of the dashboard
Okay.
that we're getting through Precision Analytics. You can go in and you'll see this many total offenses by this many students. So you can start seeing and breaking it down. That will also break down the data to location, it'll break down data to time, for those type of incidents, etc.
Well, just even to the public, it makes it look like, oh, we got a whole bunch of naughty little kids. No, we just have one that's naughty a lot.
But even if it is the same and there's 8, it would be helpful to see what levels, like, has the discipline been administered, you know, like.
Did it solve anything?
Is it changing the behavior, or do we need to,
Right.
something needs to be done
Like,
differently?
did it escalate to a point of suspension, or is it just like detention, and it's not changing the behavior? So I'll be interested when we can do more analytics
And I just have to figure out exactly what you guys want, and then how we can do it for public display, because anything that we put up here is very, very public, so. I know we can do it, but it's just, what will give you the best information, not be confusing people.
I mean, for high school, I just looked real quick. I got 8, a 6, a 5, and a 4, and everyone else is 1 or 2 for behavior referrals. So you got 4 students that are accounting for most of the vast majority.
Similar, 1% of the students make it feel like 50% of the building's on fire. To some. Yep. But staff are going through and getting training on understanding student behavior, which I'm really glad to report.
That's good to hear.
Yep.
Yes. Go ahead.
I wanted to add one more thing to my report, just because we just got done with the audit. If you've been on the board for more than 1 year, you will see the findings have been for FY 2021, 22, and now 23, some of those findings. And I just wanted to let you know that we have already fixed those for FY 24. So those are fixed, they will not be on the audit for next year.
Awesome.
So I just wanted to let you know that.
Yeah.
Because they have been the last 3 years.
I see the handbooks on here. I know Brittany was very excited to share this, so I'm sad she's not here.
Brittany worked really hard on this, you guys. Learned an awful lot, and has made it very, very cool.
And I think we had talked about doing a working session though to review the handbook. So I'm would like to take a scroll through and maybe show like the format and the changes, but to look at it in any detail, I would like to do the working session on that versus having the discussion here. Everyone okay with that?
Sounds wonderful.
Okay. So when this is actually downloaded as an active link, I just pulled it up the way it was listed there. You can go back, click on any of these areas and go to that spot. And then at the bottom of every page, you added a link to the table of contents. So it pops back to that. Within each of the areas, like here, there's an employee link to the employee directory link, so it goes right out. There's a school board link that will go right out to the web page, so we're directing everyone back to where they find. Like that. Going through, our new mission, our core values, our vision, strategic direction, policy information, so it'll go right to where the policy page is if you want to see that. Linking to kids companies, so you know exactly how to enroll and do everything else. So all of these are hot links, and so when there's a policy that's identified, there's also a link to that. School calendars, etc. How to get to menus. Complaints form, the policy for that. And so we're just, we're basically looking at what is the easiest way for people if they need to get in there? How can they get the information as quickly as possible? Now, we have addendums, we have an elementary school addendum in here. And so if there is something that is vastly different in one of the buildings, you just link to the addendum page. And then it'll be elementary frequently asked questions, or what are the differences there. So if you have a kiddo that's in the elementary, middle, and high school, and there are specific differences, you can go check those out. We have a couple more things that need to be added to this, because like I just met with Dan Esser about technology. And so there'll be some technology pieces that will be added into it. But as you go through, just pretty straightforward. There's our middle school addendum.
I think it'll be great for parents because it's one district handbook now. So if you have kids in multiple schools, you're not having to go find which handbook goes to which kid at which school. It's all one district handbook, and then all the information is in there and hyperlinked. So I think she did a really nice job of, and this was using the MSBA model handbook. So they do have a model handbook, and this followed that format.
And we're looking at this point, 24 pages. So it isn't excessively long.
Not even that bad.
It has everything in it. Brittany worked really hard on this. She did just outstanding job. And we might, I'm guessing with a few of the other things, we might get up to 27, 26, 27, 28, somewhere in there when we add a few other things. But, and we found things that had never been in handbooks that were now required to be in handbooks, and so we were able to add those in. So this will be, and it'll be really easy to continue updating.
Okay, so we will look for a time to do a working.
And Brittany's favorite picture, I just have to show you that, is this guy right there.
Did you guys like it?
24 pages, the likelihood of somebody reading this is higher than it used to be.
Okay, I updated a policy. That was exciting. The reason I updated this one was because when we were getting our new student board rep, Jacob had some questions on what are the responsibilities of that person, and there was no documentation that I could find on that. So I took this policy, which is the board organization, and I added the, so the first part of it, nothing's really changed, like it's just meeting some of the regulatory language changes and the MSBA updates. So the part that I really updated was adding a section on the role of the student, toward the top. Yeah, right there. Let's go up just a little bit. Okay. So, C is where we said that we will have a non-voting seat at board meetings for a high school student board representative selected by the superintendent, and then it lists the responsibilities. And then I added that we would also have a seat for the Education Minnesota representative to make sure that that was in there, so that that is a seat that's at the table. And I also added that we will include a Minnesota School Employee Association seat at the table if they choose to have one. I don't think we've had that in the past. So that would give that person a chance to give updates similar to what the other two roles. So those are changes. And the rest of it is the same. One note I made though is based on that audit report, does the treasurer responsibilities on there, we may want to add something that says that the treasurer needs to review the invoices.
Prior to the meeting. That was just like a, it was on something. But just not in this policy.
So we might want to add that invoices, because then that could be used for the audit finding. So I'll add that before the policy comes through again. Are you good with that? Yep. As the treasurer?
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, so I will add that. Any other questions, comments?
Well, we recently talked about just board member responsibilities. We have them all outlined, but not just basic ones. Yeah.
Just regular board members. You don't have any of that in it. You have officers.
And we kind of just talked about those. I was wondering if you wanted to add those in there as well. And I can send what I had written. I think you have it. I think we'll share that doc. Just what those are.
Yeah, is that, because that's not in there, right? It's
No,
only
it
the
just
elected position.
Yeah, just
right.
So
So right at the beginning, I would maybe just
I
say
like that
board
suggestion.
members should.
Yeah. Because that's not in any other policy, is it?
We were gonna link it to, I don't have my computer with me, we're gonna link it to a different policy.
Okay. Yep, I will add a section on that. Okay, anything else? Okay. And we're not voting on that at this time, this was just for a first reading. Next we have the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, and discussion?
Good donations.
Those two. Wow, that's nice.
Cool.
Nice job, Langston. Those paraprofessionals that were quickly added on there, we're down quite a few now.
Yeah, we're down in all the buildings quite a few. That's. So
Say that's the hardest.
we tried to go with Express Hire, which is a Express Employment, which is a hiring company out of La Crosse. They will work with us for cooks and custodians. They are concerned about working with us for paraprofessionals because since that's direct student contact, they don't necessarily want to be liable for recommending someone if they didn't work out or, even though they make the recommendation, we do the hire. They said they would do direct advertising for us, but it is incredibly expensive. And to go through that. So we've got the numbers on that, but I just don't think it's cost.
It's gonna be worth it.
Do we know if, like, all districts around us struggle to hire for that position? It is just.
Yeah. When I talk with the superintendents on, that's a Tuesday, every Tuesday meeting, everyone's talking about it. We're just like, they just can't seem to find anyone that'll fill the position.
And are people leaving because of the pay? I know one did.
Yeah.
Is it the pay or is it unrelated to pay?
Pay is definitely a factor in it. Another factor is just frustration and what the legislature did this year with the non-exclusionary discipline and some of the other pieces that have happened there. They're feeling like there's nothing they can do to keep the kids under control. And our paraprofessionals are the front line with a lot of our higher intensity kiddos. And so it's trying to, and many people still have that view that, you just punish the bad behavior out of kids. Well, that's not an option right now. And so there's lots of frustration that goes into that.
So can we better support them in those ways where we're seeing the 1% of the students that are causing all of these, behavior referrals, and it's burning out our paraprofessionals? How can we support them? How can we?
That's the training that Jeff talked about and trying to do some of that. We've done some, as a district, we've worked really hard on validating like the mental health days and some of those things and trying to give some leeway to people so that they need to just take a break. They can take a break. Trying to route, schedule paras so that they're not with the same kid the entire day. So we're moving them around and doing some of that. And if anyone has ideas, let us know, because we're, and the appreciation pieces and all of that, because it is a hard job.
I think being very consistent about the consequence and what the discipline is, I think we can do a much better job with discipline in our district. And I hear that from parents, I hear that from teachers, that you know, there's just nothing happens. Like, they do a thing and then nothing happens. So then why keep filling out the form and why? So
I think that's part of the push towards private schooling. People are, you know, if their child's the one being targeted in the building or being exposed or not getting the education that they deserve because of the distractions in the classrooms.
And in full transparency, I toured Aquinas with my child for that very reason. So.
What kept you from going?
His choice. But the door is open for him. And then I'll point out too, Mindy's leave is on here, so we would be approving that as part of the consent agenda. While you're out, we're going to work with Julie and Brittany if things come up.
And then if there's something that needs a superintendent decision, Gary has said he would help. I talked to Dale too, but Dale's having his left hip done the same time I'm having my right hip done. So he's not going to be a big option, but Gary will back me up, and also Rachel in Spring Grove said if we need anything, she'd be more than happy to help out too.
I mean, you need to take the time you need to heal. You're entitled to that time, and you know, people should not be contacting you if you're on a medical leave either. So don't feel like you need to respond if you're entitled to that time. You need to heal.
Yes. I want to make sure it feels right.
Okay, any other comments, questions on consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
We did that.
We did?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good. Thank you. Okay, those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda is approved. We are at action items to round out the lengthy agenda. We have World's Best Workforce.
So this is a report that's due. It's due December 15th. We've shown this before. All we have to do is a summary to turn in. That's the summary due on the 15th. This needs to be just posted on our website. So this goes through and talks about what was the plan for last year in each of these areas, performance measures, did we meet the goals or not?
And did we?
We did in the majority of the areas, yeah. This ensuring kindergarten, or all are ready for kindergarten, this was not achieved goal, we didn't get 100%. But like Cody was saying with other things, the 95 and the 90 and the 85 are lofty goals. 100% of our kids is a pretty lofty goal too. This goal, ensuring that all students in 3rd grade achieve grade level literacy, that was achieved. Students are college and career ready, that goal is achieved. Ensuring all students graduate, the goal is achieved. And so then it just goes into some of the instruction and curriculum pieces. This report will look somewhat different for next year because of the use of MTSS and how we're going through and doing some things, and looking at our assessment pieces.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Any discussion?
Will there be we have one for this year already. We reviewed that, 2 meetings ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure that was what I remembered.
Any other discussion? Okay, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that is approved. Next item 15B is the final levy certification of payable 2024 property taxes.
Can we lower it? Safely?
You lowered it, you'd have to go by every line to lower it. So you'd have to look exactly where you would want to lower it.
I think our community would appreciate it.
Is this due by a certain date?
December 28th. The debt service is paid for our debt, so that would need to stay the same. The community ed is the programs that we're running based on our budget, so that would need to stay the same. Your OPEB isn't that much, and that funds the dollars that we have to have that safety net for any type of benefit thing.
And that was mandatory from Gatsby. Yep. So many years ago, Gatsby, I don't remember which number it was,
yep,
went through and said that public entities needed to make sure that they had a security net or a safety net for every employee that could retire from your district, so that wouldn't put districts into SOD or.
We have a healthy general fund.
So you would
lower
have
it
to,
a little
that's
bit.
where you would have to lower it.
Show the community that we're hearing them. Maybe hold off on some of the big things that we've been doing for a while.
Like what big thing are you?
Well, I don't know, it's some of those itemized levies, the new ones that were coming through, they were voter approved, but then is that what they're seeing on there?
I haven't looked into that other part yet. I need to look at that. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But if that's what it is, that's all in the debt. And that was already approved and we already have the money.
Yeah, that's
so
not general.
That can't
So
change.
Right.
Yeah.
But
so if we change general, we would have to change somebody's, a general would affect our instructional, our admin, our support service, activities. Somewhere in there is where you'd have to cut.
But if we have a healthy balance, do we have to make a cut? Especially when we have so many open positions that we're not currently paying and haven't been paying. Would there necessarily have to be a cut? Will we have enough to ride through a year?
Not in general fund, we don't have a whole year's worth of general fund, I don't believe.
I'm not asking you to cut it all. Couldn't we just lower it a little?
I guess the thing that is making me a little cautious right now and nervous is that this is due the 28th. You know what I mean? So there's not much time to look into this and then get it before.
And we can revise this as many times as we know.
Well,
this is for this next year.
So was this reviewed at the finance committee meeting, and did the finance committee feel like this was?
No, we didn't bring up this one. We were just talking about the 2025.
Yeah.
When did we get this? The H-Fund stuff?
Which is just going to slam our taxpayers.
Then it's updated 11/28/23.
Yeah, we haven't had a meeting since then.
Yeah, we were working on it in November, December. Yeah. I mean, and the only other thing I would have to say is that looking at this, our levy affects the rates of, but also the market value of the increase of property values affected too. So it's not solely on the school district or why people's tax rates are going up.
You know, I just thought if we could do our bit to help a little bit, that we should.
I'm not comfortable making that decision really being here less than a year and so I'm not comfortable making that decision. I'd have to look into more numbers.
Yeah, we need to
and-
look into that.
Yeah.
I can't make it on the spur of the moment.
I can't either, I haven't been here more than a year, I can't make that decision.
Well, can we vote on it? And if there's enough to pass it, then fine.
Yep.
But if there's people who wanna look in further, then there we go.
Yeah, we need to put on it, so we need a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, and discussion, and additional discussion on it.
And I get what Darcy's saying too about having, you know, obviously our public has come and expressed their concern, but then also our next action item is, the resolution 2311 is gonna be for a reduction in program, which would be reducing staff. So it just kinda like, both of those in the same meeting, kinda struggle with that.
We're tough. That resolution 2311 comes up every year. It doesn't mean we have to. We just have to put it out there that we will be looking into that.
Well, and just, your comment earlier about potentially doing that when they were here, it just.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, and the comment earlier was really intended, and hopefully this is the way it came across, it was really intended to say, part of our job, Julie and my job, is to make sure that we are fiscally responsible to the public and that we are not overhiring or overstaffing. When Jacob talked about doing enrollments coming up, that's a huge time because then we can look at it and say, okay, we only have 4 kids in physics. Do we offer that every year? Do we offer that every other year? What do we, what are some other options there? How can we combine? And move, and those are all really, those are the hard, really icky parts of the job, to be perfectly honest, is, because you want to provide everything you can to everyone. But reality is, you can't always.
But do most schools have such a hefty general fund balance?
I'd say there was a report not too long ago that came out where everybody was. And I would say we're probably right in the middle, lower than us, people higher than us. Most schools in our area, they levy the max every year. That's what they approve, I can tell you that. I know that for sure.
Well, that's what we based it off of last meeting, that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we approved it, pre-approved it.
Yeah.
And we are looking at finding different ways for the 25 levies, right? We're looking at reducing some of that for the 25.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And so I can't remember, somebody asked about if we could change this. This is in effect for a year, but that would give us a year time to be able to look at ways we can cut the levy next time. I know that doesn't help for this year, and I understand that, but that would give us some time to look for those areas that we can say we do want to not go for the max the next time.
So when we're short-staffed for an extended period of time, where does that money go? Like the payroll's all set aside, and then when that's not paid to somebody,
it stays in general fund or the fund that it's in at that point, and that's why when Julie looks at revised budget.
Yeah. Or it's paid in overloads, or it's paid in subs, or it's paid in.
So that's part of the reason why the general fund is as high as it is because we've been a couple years low on staff. Is that fair?
I cannot answer that question just because I haven't been here.
And I think it's good that we're talking about this now to try to help for year 25.
Absolutely.
And have plans to do our work to hopefully reduce that.
I had just thought if we could cut a little bit off it, it might not make a huge difference on their actual numbers, but it would show that we're trying. And it might not make a huge difference on our numbers either, if we found that middle number that we could cut off.
I guess my thought is, I don't think that's reasonable to do in 8 days, but that's something that I would love for the finance committee to work as a goal. If that's a goal we feel is important, you know, like we had talked at one point about what are we spending purchase services on? Is that reasonable? Is that, you know, can we stop doing some of that? My thought on it. Do in 8 days, though, so I don't think now's the time to make those types of decisions.
And next year, could this be presented earlier so that if we aren't happy with it, we can work on it more and have longer than 8 days or 10 days to make a change?
Next year, we'll have the audit earlier. And so the audited numbers, that will help us with the levy. The earliest we can get into the levy is the end of September, I believe. So if we can get our audit done by October, we could maybe even bring it to the October or November meeting, because then we can have our audit presentation then too, or on a separate night. The one thing he didn't say is he's retiring, so we had to find a new auditor.
Well, he sold his business to a different place.
Yeah,
so
and
just
they
the
are,
name changed.
Nope, they are not doing school audits anymore. They don't have anybody to do them. And let me tell you, it is hard to find a school auditor.
So we're looking, I trust.
We will start looking now that we have the audit done. Yep, I have some names of other auditors I work with. I'm hoping because they have a relationship with me, they would say yes. But
September would be awesome, because getting the audit
Yes.
December is a...
And the other audits I have, they are earlier, so my hope would be that I'd be able to hopefully get one of those auditors to say yes.
I'd like to call a vote.
One last question, is there any chance of filing an extension so you have longer than 8 days?
This might be a good topic for a working session too, once we have, I'm thinking September, October of next year, have a working session to talk about this in detail and ask questions, and then bring it to the vote once we're all understanding. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion passes, so it is approved. Okay, I'm gonna try to read this. My multifocal contacts don't work very well this late at night. Okay, 15C, Resolution 2310. Establishing combined polling places for multiple precincts and designating hours during which the polling place will remain open for voting for school district elections not held on the day of a statewide election. Can you click on it, Mindy?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? This is also something we do every year. Any discussion? Okay, those in favor? What's that? Who made the motion? Right. Those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the resolution passes. 15D is Resolution 2311, directing administration to make recommendations for reductions in programs and reasons therefore for the 2024-25 school year.
Move to approve.
Second.
Morgan, Cody. Any discussion? Okay, those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this resolution also passes.
Move to adjourn.
Second. Meeting is adjourned.
So who are these from?
Yeah, the snacks were from me.
Oh,
I don't
thank
know,
you.
but I do shop local, so there you go.
I never thought you did.
And the Christmas towels were for me.
Oh,
thank you.
Well, thank you.
Our towels got lost in the mail.
Hey, you were invited to lots of fun things that we weren't
And I
invited
did.
to.
Yeah, I know.
You were invited.
Touche.